So let's discuss some of these basic economic principles. One of the first and most important principle of economics that it says that people face trade-offs, meaning that all decisions are going to involve trading one thing for another. In other words, we can say there's no such thing as free lunch. You've heard that saying, and that's exactly what it means. In order to get something, we need to give something away. Even if somebody promises you a free lunch, it's not that it's gonna not cost you anything. To get that free lunch, you have to spend your time that you can use doing something else during that time. And that's what we call cost of doing that activity. So there is no such thing as free lunch. Even if you don't pay for that lunch, you're still sacrificing something, and that's your trade-off. I'm going to be looking at three different trade-offs: activity and activity, time and money, and equity versus efficiency. So let's start with activity versus activity. You may sacrifice one activity for another one. What do we mean by that? Going to a party means that you won't be studying, right? So in a way, we're trading time doing one thing for doing another thing. Going to school means you won't be working fully at work at the same time, right? So I know some of you probably combine, actually most of you probably combine work and school, but you can't be at work and at school at the same time. So you're either working at your place of employment or you are in school. Drinking coffee means you won't be drinking tea that morning, right? Once again, we're sacrificing one activity for another activity. And of course there are exceptions. Of course there are possible ways to combine one thing or another. But think about it in general terms. Whenever you're doing something, it means you're not doing everything else. Time versus money. We already briefly kind of talked about that when we looked at the alternative of our scarce resources. We say that you may sacrifice money to save some time. Another example would be to pay $100 for a pair of shoes at the mall instead of paying $80 at the outlet mall that's located 50 miles away. So here we're spending extra money, right? We're spending extra $20 for a pair of shoes, but we're choosing to go to the mall that's located close to us instead of driving far away and purchasing a discounted item at the outlet mall. The situation can be reversed. You may sacrifice time to save some money. We previously mentioned this example. Let's repeat it again. You can spend half an hour cutting coupons from a newspaper in order to save some dollars, right? You may learn how to cut your own hair, right? You sacrifice in time in order to save money, so you no longer have to go to the stylist, right? You save in money, but you had to sacrifice time. Finally, the trade-off between equity and efficiency. So this is probably something new for you, something that you're going to learn in this lecture. So what is efficiency? Efficiency is referring to a situation in which we're getting the most from our scarce resources. So efficiency is a situation where we extract everything we possibly can extract from a resource that we have. Equality or equity refers to a situation when wealth is distributed uniformly among society members. And our society always have this dilemma. Do we concentrate more on efficiency or equality? We're not particularly looking at the answer here. We can probably debate until the rest of this semester where we actually should be concentrating or where should we spend more of our attention. What do we need to concentrate more? Some people believe it's equality and some people believe it's efficiency. Once again, this is a normative kind of question. Normative meaning that here, when we decide where do we need to concentrate our attention on, what do we need to spend our resources on, it's a normative question. It represents our beliefs. So we can't really answer this yes or no with we can't really give a definite answer. So let's see why there's a trade-off, why we can't have both. So suppose we have two guys. One is a rich guy on the right and one is a poor guy on the left. Let's give them a bag of money. Which guy do you think has a better chance to turn this bag of money into 2 bags of money, right? So which one is more likely to turn the bag of money into 2? Most likely the rich guy, right? He knows what he's doing with his money. He got rich somehow, meaning that he probably has an idea how to create more from less. The second question is, which guy is in more need of that bag of money? It's probably going to be a poor guy, right? He probably needs that bag of money more in order to get out of slums, right, than the rich guy. So this is why the trade-off exists. We can give this bag of money to both guys. But if we're giving it to the rich guy, we're supporting efficiency. If we give it to the poor guy, we're supporting equality or equity. Which guy do you think this bag of money should go to? Once again, that's a normative question. We can argue about it as much as we want to, but we won't be able to come up with the one definite answer because that's a normative question. Another principle of economics, which we call an opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is, we also call it a real cost of something. And it's what you have to give up in order to get something else. Opportunity cost doesn't have to be monetary value. And it's not going to look at all possible foregone opportunities, but rather the best alternative. So for example, let's look at the real cost of you going to college. First of all, you have to buy tuition. You have to pay tuition. You also have to buy books, maybe a computer. You have to have a car in order to drive to school. All of those are going to be monetary cost. But we also have to remember something else. What else did you give up when you decided to go to college? Some of you gave up some working opportunities. If you will not be going to college, you probably will be working somewhere and making income, which means that foregone income is your cost of going to college. Some of you gave up time with their families. Since you have to do your homework, you can't spend as much time with your kids. So that's your cost of going to college. Somebody gave up traveling opportunities. It would be so much fun to go and travel the world this year, yet you decided to go to college. So those world experiences, those are the cost of you going to college. Okay? So we have to account for all of those when we think about opportunity cost. So as we said, it doesn't have to be monetary value. Time spent with your family does not really have a monetary value, but we still include it in our cost. Also important to remember that it's not all possible foregone opportunities, but the best alternative. For some of you, it's going to be time working. For some of you, it's going to be time with your family. And for some of you, it's going to be time traveling. Whichever you would pick on your own, that's going to be your own cost of going to college. What are the real costs of raising a child? It's not just food, it's not just medical care, it's not just diapers, it's not just cost of education. It's also other things that you had to give up in order to have a kid. For some of you, maybe you work in less hours, so you giving up some income in order to raise your child, right? Some may give up a promotion because they had to stay home with their sick kid, and as a result they didn't receive a promotion. Maybe you had to stay home with your children, and instead of going to a corporate party or your office party, and you missed an opportunity to meet some person that will benefit you in the future. So all of those will be included in the cost of raising a child. Not just monetary cost, but other things that you had to give up in order to get something else. In this case, raising a child or going to college.